Space, time, and mass are not separate things simply sitting beside each other. They are constantly forming together, constantly correcting, constantly trying to become one coherent ratio. And we live inside of one of those ratios. That is the core of this episode. My name is Peter Kerwin, and this is the Codex Unfolding, a clear path through my framework for reality, consciousness, meaning, and becoming. It is not presented as established science, fixed doctrine, or final truth. It is a philosophical, symbolic, and spiritual investigation into how reality might become meaningful. Last episode, we explored the original dimensions. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. 0 gives absoluteness, 0 reflects itself, 0 becomes 1. 1 and its counterpart create push and pull. 2 stabilizes polarity and relationship. 3 turns relationship into system. And once relationship becomes system, the next question is, how does a system become a world? In this framework, the answer is space, time, and mass. Space gives room, time gives becoming, mass gives remaining. But those three are not isolated. Space is not just an empty container. Time is not just a clock. Mass is not just heaviness. There are three aspects of one forming relation. Space gives distinction room to exist. Time gives relation a way to change. Mass gives change a way to remain. A world begins when those three begin forming together. But they do not form together perfectly all at once. They form ratios. A little more space changes what time can do. A little more mass changes how space behaves. A shift in time changes how mass remains. Each one affects the others. So the world is not a static container. The world is a balancing act, a living ratio. And every ratio has to compensate. When one part shifts, the whole field adjusts. If there is too much space and not enough mass, things do not hold. If there is too much mass and not enough space, becoming gets crushed. If there is too much time without enough continuity, everything dissolves into change. If there is too much remaining without enough becoming, everything freezes. So reality corrects through smaller ratios. A large ratio shifts, a smaller ratio compensates. That smaller ratio shifts. An even smaller ratio compensates. And this continues downward. Ratio inside ratio. Adjustment inside adjustment. A world is not held by one balance alone. It is held by nested balances. That is important, because we do not live in a total ratio of all space, all time, and all mass. We live in a smaller ratio, a local ratio, a livable ratio. Our bodies exist in one range, our minds exist in one range, our memories exist in one range, our relationships exist in one range. Too far outside that range, and life as we know it cannot hold. So life is not above space, time, and mass. Life is a narrow coherence inside them. The law is, life is the ratio where becoming has room to remain. But now we can say it more precisely. Life is a smaller ratio inside the larger ratio of space, time, and mass. That smaller ratio is constantly adjusting. The environment changes, the body responds, memory updates. The future opens or closes, possibility shifts. And that shifting environment is what we experience as time. Time is not only a number moving forward, time is the felt movement of the ratio changing around us. The environment does not stay fixed. The field keeps compensating. Everything is adjusting to everything else. And because the ratio shifts, we experience sequence. Before, after, change, aging, growth, loss, return, becoming. In this framework, time is not separate from space and mass. Time is what the shifting ratio feels like from the inside. Space changes what can relate. Mass changes what can remain. Time is the experience of that relation updating. So the rule of time becomes, time is the experience of a changing ratio. That is why different moments feel different, not just emotionally, structurally. A room can change time, a body can change time, pain can change time, love can change time, fear can change time, work can change time, grief can make time heavy, joy can make time open, waiting can stretch time, shock can collapse it. Because we do not experience time as an abstract line, we experience time through the ratio we are inside. Space, mass, memory, attention, body, environment, relation, all shifting together. That is why time is local, not only mathematically but existentially. Each being lives inside a ratio field. A person is not just moving through time, a person is a local ratio of space, time, and mass, trying to remain coherent while the environment changes. A body does this constantly. Breath adjusts, balance adjusts, temperature adjusts, pressure adjusts, hunger adjusts, healing adjusts. The body is not a fixed object. It is a living compensation. A relationship is the same. Two people are not frozen things. There are shifting ratios. Distance changes, time changes, weight changes, memory changes. The relationship stays alive only if it keeps adjusting. Too much closeness and space disappears. Too much distance and relation fades. Too much weight and the bond becomes control. Too much change and nothing can be trusted. A living relationship is a ratio that keeps correcting without collapsing. An idea also follows this. An idea needs space to form, time to develop, mass to matter. But if it grows too fast, it becomes unstable. If it becomes too heavy, it becomes rigid. If it has no room, it dies. If it has no weight, it evaporates. A living idea survives by adjusting its ratio. That is what the Codex is doing. The living Codex is not only a collection of concepts, it is a ratio field. Theory, life, memory, symbol, practice, correction, wonder, grounding, all compensating as the work becomes public. Too much wonder without grounding, and the work loses form. Too much structure without wonder, and the work loses soul. Too much speed without rest, and the body plays. Too much caution without propagation, and the work never lives. So the Codex also needs a living ratio. That brings us back to 5. 5 is propagation. But propagation can only happen when the ratio is stable enough to carry pattern forward. A seed propagates because its inner ratio can survive contact with environment. A life propagates because its pattern can continue through change. A body continues because it keeps compensating. A world continues because its ratios keep adjusting. So the 5th dimension begins when a ratio becomes fertile enough to carry itself forward. Not perfect, not finished, fertile. Stable enough to remain, flexible enough to change, open enough to branch. The law is, a living ratio propagates by continual correction. That is what life is. Not stillness, not chaos, correction. A constant adjustment between room becoming and remaining. Space gives room, time gives becoming, mass gives remaining. Their ratio gives life a place to occur. Their shifting gives us time. Their compensation gives us continuity. And their propagation gives us future. So the human question is simple. What ratio am I living in? Do I have enough space, enough room to breathe, choose, think, and become? Do I have enough time? Enough rhythm, patience, unfolding, and process? Do I have enough mass? Enough stability, commitment, memory, and weight to remain? Where am I compensating? Where am I overcorrecting? Where is my environment shifting faster than I can integrate? Where do I need more room? Where do I need more structure? Where do I need more time? Because a life is not just a thing, a life is a ratio trying to stay coherent through change. So the core law of this episode is, life is the ratio where becoming has room to remain. And the deeper law is, time is the experience of a changing ratio. That leads to the next doorway, matter. Because if mass is remaining, then the next question is, how does relation become something with weight? How does possibility become body? How does a world learn to hold itself? In the next episode, we will explore one possible answer inside this framework. Tiny wormhole theory. The idea that matter may emerge where relation folds tightly enough to remain. For now, the law is, space gives room, time gives becoming, mass gives remaining. Life is the ratio where they keep correcting into coherence. This framework is still developing. Some of its claims are philosophical, symbolic, spiritual, and speculative. I am not sharing it as a finished doctrine, but as a living investigation. I'm Peter Kerwin, this is the Codex Unfolding, and this is the 10th step. We do not live above space, time, and mass. We live inside their living ratio. Please like and subscribe, and if you would like, leave a question in the comment section. Vale says hi, relate to you next time.